Immediately that link I sent to you, AGM 2020 or AGM 2020.
Quickly examine for just for today.
Hurry, I send it to you. Send it to you. I'm coming, I'm shortening it, I'll send it to you. I'm getting some from you. Okay, my voice. So go to meet
Maybe we can connect both separately.
like him. I want to talk to her first outside, please.
think so.
Evaluated and tested the design and operating effectiveness of the control that management has established to identify contracts that is or contains a lease. We tested management basis and assumption for separating components of a contract into lease and non-lease components. We tested non-cancelable operating lease commitments disclosed at 31 December 2018 and the lease liabilities recognized on 1 January 2019. We tested the basis for the initial and subsequent measurement of ROE assets and lease liability. Performed procedures to ensure that the practical expedients elected by the company were correctly implemented. Based on the above procedures performed, the result of our substantive testing did not identify any material misstatement on the adoption of IFRS 16 and recognition of ROE assets and lease liability. The last paragraph on reports on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Companies and Other Matters Act, C-20 2004, requires that in carrying out our audit, we consider and report to you on the following matters. We confirm that we have obtained all the information and explanation which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, we are necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept by the company, and the consolidated and separate statement of financial position and consolidated and separate statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books of accounts. Signed, Uchen Okiwo, for Grant Thornton, dated 28 February 2020. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Okibo. Distinguished shareholders, the chairman's statement, the director's report, as well as the report of the audit committee can be found in pages 82 to 86 and 87 of the annual report, and the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, which has been circulated to all the shareholders of the company. Consequently, with your permission, the chairman's statement, the director's report, and the report of the audit committee will be taken as read. Is that agreeable to all? Thank you. At this point, we will be pleased to take questions if there are any. We will also address questions sent through the company secretary prior to the date of this meeting as time permits. I'll now ask for show of hands. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Moses Ibrudi. I'm representing the proxy of Sasoni Wosu, who is not around because of another assignment. First of all, I have to show appreciation, commendation for the board and management of this company, MTN's Nigerian Communication PLC. Is a great pleasure that about 18 years ago you came into this country, did a lot of business, you performed excellently well in your business. And not only like that, you deem it fit that you want to list this company in the Nigerian Stock Exchange. It's a sign that, yes, you believe in this country, Nigeria. Now I can equally tell you that because of this singular act of listing in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, you are now a citizen of Nigeria. That is to say, the Nigerian people are part owner of the business. So you are rest assured, whatever you are doing, whatever you are going to do, or you have done, or you are going to do, the support of the Nigerian people will be your support. Then, when you look at your balance sheet, you will discover that this company is a great company with a strong balance sheet, revenue ranging over 1 trillion naira, with profit after tax of 202 billion naira. That is to tell you this company is a very big company, a strong company, and a company that nobody can say it's not doing well. You are doing well. And the only thing I want to say is that you should continue in the way you are doing the business to make sure that you bring more value to the shareholder, to the Nigerian people. Then again, when we talk about the history, when you are in pages 10 and 11, where from 2001 to 2019, what you have done. Staging from 2001, first call was made on MTN Nigeria Network, down to 2019 here, where it became listed on the premium board of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Congratulations. And that is a big tank, and you should continue to work, to stride on. Then again, I want to ask, in one of these page 11, you mentioned about 5G. We know that there is a lot of conspiracy theories going on. And I know that the next or the incoming thing now is that 5G. And all over the world, they are bracing on it. They are trying to key into it. And you said you have already launched it, the first network to conduct trial for 5G technology in West Africa. Now, these have come up with a lot of theories which are not true. For you to enter or launch it fully, there is the need for the company to disabuse the mind of people, to say that the true picture of it, so that people will not look at it in a negative way they are perceiving it now. It's very, very key that you need to do something about it. You need to prepare yourself in how to communicate the real value of this 5G to the people, so that they can embrace the concept without any problem. Then again, I will commend you also that some time ago, the NCC or the Nigerian government fined MTN from the annual report. It's shown that you have paid off all the fine, 330 billion naira. That is to tell you that the company is strong. For you to be able to pay such a huge amount of money over time and make sure that you settle that matter, that is something that shareholders have to commend you about. Some of us were thinking that will be the end of MTN, but today the management of the company have done excellently well, fulfilled all their promises and paid everything. So congratulations, congratulations, and congratulations again. Then again, I want to equally use this opportunity to thank and show appreciation for those directors who led this company to this till last year. At the same time, all of them now they're retired. We are saying that God should continue to be with them wherever they are, so that at the end of the day, they will enjoy and benefit from their fruit of their labor. And finally, I want to mention, if you look at the last pages of the annual report, you will see a lot of unclaimed dividend. You begin to wonder if MTN, who just the company that just listed just few years ago, still having unclaimed dividend like this that is shown here. I say there is something fundamentally wrong with the system. We need to do more. If company that is when we have started doing e-dividend, e-mandate form, whenever we want to fill a form, a new form for shares, we always fill our CSES statement, whatever. And yet we are still having this, meaning that we need to do more work. Not only on the registrar side, both the company, both the regulator, so that at the end of the day, going forward, these things can be addressed. Nigerians are the owner of this money. How can you invest money after hard-earned money, then you will not receive the return on that investment? It's not a very good one. So I will make an appeal that they should look, that is the whole system, that is what I mean by the people involved, registrar, company, CSCS, and everybody should work together to make sure that this problem is resolved permanently, by making sure that anybody information given, the addresses have to be reached, they have to be true. But now we have email, we have everything. So you can reach out to these people through that means so that they can collect their money. Thank you very much once again. Brude Moses is the name.
Thank you very much. Please.
The chairman, other members of the board, very distinguished fellow shareholders. The names remain Nona Awu. I am going to be looking at this account and report from the point of tomorrow. Because the reason that any person will put his money in any investment is basically for tomorrow. But in discussing the tomorrow of the company, I also want to put on record that I recognize the fact that this business is a big capital requiring business. I don't want to use the word capital intensive. So when I found on page 19 that the company will be spending 600 billion, according to the chairman, in the next 3 years, which means an average of 200 billion in new investments yearly. That also gives one the assurance that the company is conscious of the need to renew itself on a regular basis. However, if you look at various pages in this annual account, starting from page 94, 119, 122, 176, you find a situation where we have finance costs standing currently at 128 billion, which itself represents almost 20% of value added for the year under review. If you also take a further search, you'll find that on page 96, borrowing is also increasing, as also expressed on page 139 to 142. The reason I ask this is that if you relate that to the profit after tax, you begin to understand what my challenges are. Because if you spend 125 billion in finance cost and you have a profit after tax of 200 billion, the question you then begin to ask is that what mode of funding are you looking at going forward? Related to that is also what you have on page 124, which has to do with bad debt written off. Yes, I know that for the size of business that you do, 9.4 billion will be small money. But if you relate that to what shareholders will get, was that sum of money available, you probably will have rounded off the figure that you are giving as final dividend. So I'll be expecting to hear a little more as to what you are doing to be able to recover such debt. Yes, it's been written off, but that does not mean that they cannot be collected thereafter. Second area of interest for me has to do with what you have on page 130, software write-off of 44 billion. Again, doing 1 trillion business and writing off 44 billion may again be small money, but the implication of this is what I want to understand. What is the benefit in the write-off? Which I also be relating with what you have on page 135. On page 135, inventory write-down, 185. I just want all of this put in context so that the future of the company will be better understood. Why am I talking about the future? If you look at page 29, talking about the statement, the CEO statement, he alluded to the fact that in terms of ranking of your priorities, long-term, building of long-term value, shareholders' value, is second on the hierarchy. And if that is so, behind quality of service, one question that as an investor I want to ask, what is your dividend policy? Because dividend policy itself will help me understand what I will be expecting from every performance. And by extension, that will also be an influence as to what the capital appreciation is also likely to be. So I will not just be depending on the dividend, but the dividend policy has an influence as to what the growth in terms of share price can be. And having started with the issue of capital, I want to close also on the issue of capital. 600 billion, I asked, how are you going to fund it? And I'll be expecting that should COVID-19 permitting, are we looking at the possibility of the company being back in the market, trying to raise additional capital? It's on that note that I want to thank you, and I also want to join the first speaker in asking, yes, I've seen a few names on the unclaimed dividend on page 195 to 239, and the few that I know, I will be talking to them, but it's important that now that you have a bigger size of shareholders, that itself becomes a major area of interest, and that I will also be urging the company secretary and the investor relations unit to also see the possibility of making sure that there is a contact between the shareholders whose monies are with the company and the registrar, so that again we'll have a better relationship going forward. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be part of this, your AGM. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other? Thank you very much. I would like to call on the CEO to provide his responses to these questions and those that have been sent earlier on. Mr. Momo.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning to everybody. Just on a personal note, for all our shareholders, it's really an honor and a privilege to lead such a wonderful company with such wonderful MTN family staff. We also just wanted from MTN to say to all of you, we pray that you and your families are safe. We pray that you are healthy, and we're sure if we work together, we can get through this pandemic. When I get to the answering of the questions, just to remind the shareholders that the chairman had indicated earlier that if there's any question that is not answered today or where we don't give appropriate information, you are quite, you can contact the company secretary and we will respond in writing. So I have received some questions as well from outside of the group present, and I will try and provide some answers in terms of some of the questions that were asked. Firstly, in terms of the NCC fine, we have now concluded all aspects regarding the fine of 2015 on the subscriber registration process, and we are happy to say that the issue is now behind us, and we can now work forward to ensure that we don't get into such a situation again. In terms of the unclaimed dividends, the point is noted. We will work with the companies and the registrar's office to clean up the unclaimed dividends as best as we can. I thought I would also just spend a little bit of time in terms of the future and the investment, and perhaps also just a little bit in terms of the impact of FX. I think this was mentioned, and also the funding. So first and foremost, you know, we're a technology company. As you've seen in the chairman's report, we still import a lot of equipment, or we invest a lot of equipment in the network. The majority of this equipment is imported. The electronic equipment that we use cannot be manufactured locally, is only manufactured in a few places in the world. So this requires us to import this equipment. And obviously, since we import the equipment, we have a foreign exchange exposure along with the importation of the equipment. We also have some FX exposure on our expenses. There are some contracts that we work with where there's a clear foreign element. This normally relates to support services that we get from these vendors. And we are also exposed on our OPEX in terms of some of our expenses. When we look at the investment going forward, the reference that the Honourable Gentleman had made was that we're looking at investing in 4G technology. As was disclosed in the report, at this point in time, the population coverage on 4G is just above 40%, so we need to invest in the extension of this 4G rollout. We need to modernize certain elements of the network. The network is now 20 years old, and there are certain elements that we need to modernize. And just due to the poor nature of the business that we are in, we're constantly modernizing and upgrading the network. And then we're also still looking at extending coverage. This is going to rural areas in Nigeria. And then finally, the other CapEx investment, we're also looking at digitizing and putting more efficient processes in place. and we need CapEx for all of these issues. How do we fund these expenses? Well, prior to the year, if you recall, we had preference shares. The preference shares were denominated in dollars. They were hard currency preference shares. We settled those preference shares at the end of the year, so one of the decisions we did take with the pressure on the Naira was to ensure that our exposure to foreign debt is limited on the balance sheet. So we were happy to announce that just before the end of the year, we were able to settle those preference shares. And then generally also the foreign currency loans that we normally take out to finance the equipment, as I said, that we import. We use a number of vehicles to try and limit the impact of the foreign currency. We look at some forward contracts. We also try, if we can, if it's available in the market, we make use of cash collateralized LCs, which hedges our exposure immediately. We also have a very good credit standing with our vendors. These are the Ericssons, the Huaweis, and the ZTEs of the world, and Nokias, whom we buy equipment from. So in the event that there's a hard currency shortage in the market and we badly need the equipment, we can also find funding from our vendors. We constantly, and the board is constantly aware of looking at the various debt ratios that we have and also the structure of our equity. And when decisions are taken as to what type of funding we look for, we obviously take into account the ability of the financial performance of the company to support the debt and the financing that we would require. In terms of the bad debt that was referenced to, so generally speaking, when you look in the financials, you will see we refer to impairments of bad debt. So first and foremost, we normally exposed to some technical obsolescent inventory. Again, this relates to the industry that we're in. As technology upgrades, you find that some of the inventory that you normally have is old and you need to impair this. We have processes in place to identify this, and we have appropriate policies in place where we impair and put impairments through on the inventory. During the course of 2019 also, we did some impairment on some of our normal operational inventory. The impairment that we put through was 3G SIM cards, since we're now moving to 4G SIM cards, and you would have seen a lot of our advertising talks about coming to swap your 3G for your 4G SIM card. We had a large number of old 3G SIM cards in the warehouse that we have now impaired, and we're in the process of destroying. This also just relates to, as technology evolves, that you find you're exposed in certain areas. In terms of the general bad debt on debtors, just to remind our shareholders that approximately 90%, let's say 85 to 90% of our revenue is cash. This is the normal recharge vouchers that you see people using to recharge. So we're not that exposed in terms of debtors, but we also have normal processes in place whereby we evaluate the collectability of the debt, and if we have a view that we would be a challenge in terms of collecting it, we obviously put through an impairment. And to the honourable shareholder who specifically asked about, do we just impair or do we put processes in place? So I can assure you that we go through all the processes to try and identify the shareholder, negotiate, try and get as much money back as we can. We also use court processes should we need to recover the outstanding debt, and we only put through and write off the debt when all else has failed in terms of trying to recover the debt. In terms of the dividend policy that was asked, our dividend policy states that we will adhere to declaring a dividend of about 80% of our profit for the year. So this is roundabout, what the dividend policy that we've issued states. I thought it would just be appropriate to also just comment on what is happening in the market at the moment with COVID, and just to give the shareholders an idea in terms of how we are dealing with COVID, firstly from a business point of view, and secondly from what we are doing to try and assist Nigeria to manage the pandemic itself. This was one of the questions that have come on or have come to us prior to the meeting. We have an approach that stands on 4 pillars. So the very first pillar is we look at our staff, our MTN family. Just like what you've done the last few days by staying at home with your family, our first responsibility is towards our own MTN family. So we actually took a decision prior to any of the stay-at-home or the lockdown instructions. We are already working from home. Being a digital and a telco company, it was obviously quite easy for us to get all our staff to work from home. So we've been working from home using our own technology. However, we do need to keep the network up, and we do need to get services out there in the market. So we have quite a number of staff, we call these critical staff. These are people that have worked throughout the lockdown and throughout the close down. They are the engineers that go out to the sites when the sites go down, to repair the sites, to make sure that the generators have diesel in. And I really want to tell you that I think these are extremely brave people, and they've done an absolute sterling job, and they've made us very, very proud. And I think I do need to use this opportunity also just to say thank you very, very much to them. Just to give you a sense of comfort, when they do go out and do their job, obviously we make sure that they are protected. We have our own company buses. We make sure that when we transport people, we have social distancing, just as we're doing today. And then we also have an in-house doctor, which is part of our normal staff. So we also have a health support for our staff. The second leg that we look at is the network. We are very aware of our responsibility to keep the network up and running, especially in these times right now that everybody needs to be able to communicate. I think it's become more evident in the current pandemic how crucial communication really is. So we have a contingency plan that we have activated. This contingency plan includes things like ensuring we have sufficient spares in country so that if we do have a problem that we can keep the network going. This is by no means a small task. You must understand that a lot of manufacturing facilities in the world is closed. We need to bring this equipment in. So this is just one of the aspects of that contingency plan. We've also re-looked at the CapEx allocation that we've got. So this is the reference that you made to the amount of money we spend in the network. And we've realigned this CapEx to ensure that we have sufficient capacity in the current network so that the network remains up. So this is the second pillar, is to ensure that the network remains up. The third pillar is our customers. What are we doing towards the customers? And we have quite a number of initiatives that we've put in place for the customers. I just want to mention a few. The first one is that we have a super agent license, which is our mobile money license that we have. This is not the PSB. Don't get confused. Just this allows us to roll out the agent network, develop the systems, and then just provide the service to the customers. It's not the full mobile money license. But we zero-rated all all cash transfers on the system. And just for those shareholders that are here, how this works is you can work to any one of our agents. You can give them Naira, hard cash Naira. You can give them an SMS number, and you can transfer money to anybody in the country. That person, when they receive the notification, can walk to any one of our agents anywhere in the country, and by providing a PIN, the agent on the other side will cash out their money to them. So this enabled the vulnerable people of Nigeria to move cash around to each other. The other one that we've launched is we have provided some free data, more or less around access to health sites and education, but there's quite a lot we did in terms of the free data. I want to come to the last one, which I think is extremely important. And this is, we have gone ahead and we've provided 300 free SMSs to all subscribers in the country. I must say, I'm very proud of this particular one. And the reason we went on the SMSs was because not everybody in Nigeria has the access to data. Not everybody even has a data-enabled phone. So with SMSs, it actually touches the entire broad spectrum of the Nigerian population. To date, since we've launched this, more than 1 billion free SMSs have been sent in the country. And I really believe, and we're very passionate about this, that this is the help that is really going to a level where it is needed. Just to give our shareholders a sense of comfort also, this decision wasn't taken lightly. Before we took this decision, we did ensure that we had sufficient capacity on the SMS network to be able to deal with this volume and also to make sure that the quality remains at the levels where they should be. The final pillar of our COVID structure is to work with other parties and to try and assist with various initiatives that are ongoing in the country. The core decision that we took was that to ultimately deal with the virus, we shouldn't be standing alone. We should be standing together and we should be working together. So what we've been doing is we've been working with the various agencies. We've provided them with toll-free numbers. We've provided them with mobile phones. We've provided them with SIM cards so that the people that are fighting this COVID battle on the front line, the health workers and those individuals, have access to communication services. Along with this, we've also made a donation to Kakovit. This is the initiative driven by a number of influential Nigerian businesses. We contribute to Kakovit as well, and through Kakovit, we know that they are targeting isolation centers. I think they've identified 6 isolation centers. They're also looking at starting a feeding project, and they're also looking at assisting NCCDC with test kits in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I can go on. There are close to 23 or 24 initiatives, and it was really difficult for me to highlight just 2 or 3 that I thought would be important and that you need to be aware of. But Mr. Chair, I think this is basically my response to the questions. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ferdy, for the responses. And thank you, shareholders, for the questions. As I had stated earlier about items 1 to 5, it is now time to vote. I would like to invite the registrar to explain the e-voting process. Madam, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, my name is Bukola James Cole, representing United Securities Limited. I'll proceed to explain the procedure for casting your votes. Using the devices provided, please be informed that we've captured the voting details of 213 shareholders received by proxy and holding 17,845,113,494 units of MTN Nigerian PLC Communications shares, which represent 87.67% of the issued share capital. In addition to the proxies received, we'll be capturing the votes of shareholders physically present at this meeting to arrive at the final voting results. You've been assigned a voting device that we have configured to represent your shareholding in MTN Nigerian Communications PLC. On your voting pads, the button 1/A is for a yes vote. The button 2/B is for a no vote. And the button 3/C is for an abstain vote. Once the voting commences, please press the reference button in accordance with your decision or choice. And note that each shareholder can change their vote during the voting period, but once the voting period has ended, the last button you pressed will be recorded as your votes. The chairman will close the vote and the result will be displayed accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming that everybody has their machine for the voting. Distinguished shareholders, I hereby move that the annual financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2019, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and audit committee as laid before members at this annual general meeting be received and adopted. Would someone please second the motion? Colonel Bello, seconds. Colonel Peters, sorry. I'm so sorry. You're actually supposed to stand and make a statement. Give your name and then
My name is retired Colonel Ayegbeni Peters. I second the motion of the chairman.
thank you. We will now vote on the resolution.
Voting can now commence, please. Can we go ahead to press our keypads accordingly? Can we also have the process being displayed? We have 10 seconds more. Five seconds. Voting can now end. The voting has closed. Thank you. The results is hereby displayed for the first resolution to receive the audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019. We have 216 shareholders who have voted in favor of the resolution with 17,855,314,694,000 units of MTN shares representing 100%. The vote has been successfully carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The vote is carried. We now come to item 2 on the agenda to declare a dividend. I hereby move that a dividend payment in the total sum of 161,929,858 naira 50 kobo, which translates to 4 naira 97 kobo for every 2 kobo ordinary share to shareholders whose names appear in the company's register of members at the close of business on Friday, April 17, 2020, bringing the total dividend for the year ended December 31, 2019 to 7 naira 92 kobo, subject to withholding tax, be and is hereby approved. Will someone please second the motion?
Yeah, Ibrude Moses, the proxy representative of Sasoni, to rise to second the motion. Thank you.
We will now vote on the resolution.
Can we use our keypads again, please? The voting process has now opened for 15 seconds, please. Ten seconds. 5 seconds. And then the voting has ended. Can the result be displayed, please? The result is hereby displayed. The result on the second resolution to declare a dividend has 216 shareholders with 17,855,314,694 units holding 100% and all voting in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. The next item on the agenda is to elect and re-elect directors. That is, the election of the directors appointed since the last annual general meeting and re-election of retiring directors offering themselves for re-election. Please be informed that the register of directors shareholding is available for inspection during the meeting in compliance with the provisions of Section 275, subsection 8 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act, Chapter C20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004. The register of attendance at the meetings of the board during the period under review is available for inspection in accordance with Section 258, subsection 2 of CAMA. The record of attendance of directors at meetings can be found on pages 68 to 72 of the annual report. In accordance with Section 249 of CAMA, the appointment of directors must be approved by members at annual general meeting following such directors' appointment. 7 directors have been appointed to the board since the last annual general meeting and are presented here for approval at this annual general meeting. They are Mr. Michael Onoche Ajuku, Mr. Mohammed K. Ahmad, Mr. Andrew Ali, Dr. Mobala Johnson, Mr. Abubakar Mahmood, Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okaro, and Mr. Modupe Kadiri. We shall now present them for approval individually. The first director presented for election is Mr. Mike Ajuku. I hereby move that Mr. Michael Onoche Ajuku be and is hereby elected a director of the company. I'll appreciate if someone could please second the motion.
No, I so second.
Thank you very much. We will now vote for the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can the voting commence, please, using our devices? The voting is on. We have 10 seconds. 5 seconds. You can stop. We can close the vote, please. Thank you. We wait for the result. Thank you. The result for the third resolution is being displayed. We have 209 shareholders with 17,815,905,101 units, represented by 99.78% who have voted in favor of the resolution. We have 7 shareholders with 39,409,593 units who have voted against the resolution, percentage 0.22%. The votes have been significantly carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that Mr. Michael Onoche Ajuku is duly elected. The second director, and I hereby move that Mohammed Kabiru Ahmad, OON, be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion as moved by you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can we use our devices again? Voting is declared open. Thank you. Ten seconds more. 5 seconds. Can stop the vote. Thank you. We wait for the result to be displayed. Okay, thank you. So on the third resolution for the second director, Mr. Mohammed Ahmad, we have 210 shareholders who have voted in favor with 17,832,340 1,701 units, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders who have voted against with 22,973,993 units, representing 0.13%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Mohammed Kabiru Ahmad is duly elected. For the third director, I hereby move that Mr. Andrew Ali be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Could someone please second the motion?
I, Chibu Nawokocha, second your nomination.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
Thank you, sir. May we use our voting devices? Voting is on. 10 seconds more. 5. You can close the vote, please. Thank you. We wait for the result to be displayed. The result is hereby displayed on the third resolution, item 3 for Mr. Andrew Ali. We have 210 shareholders who have voted in favor with 17,832,340,701 units, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders holding 22,973,993 units for 0.13%. That's the result. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Andrew Ali is duly elected. For the fourth director, I hereby move that Dr. Omobola Johnson be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Would someone kindly second the motion? We will now vote on the resolution.
We can now open the vote. Thank you. Five more seconds. And then we can close the votes. Waiting for the results to be displayed. Okay, so we have the results on the third resolution. For Dr. Omobola Johnson, we have 210 shareholders holding 17,832,340,701 shares, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders who have voted against the resolution, holding 22,973,993 units, representing 0.13%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that Dr. Omobola Johnson is duly elected. The fifth director, I hereby move that Mr. Abubakar Mahmood, SAN, be and is hereby elected a director of the company, and I'll ask someone to please second the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I so second. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We may now vote for the resolution.
Thank you. Voting has started. Five seconds more. You can stop the vote. Thank you. We wait for the results to be displayed. Okay, we have the result on the third resolution for Mr. Abubakar. We have 210 shareholders who have voted in favor, holding 17,832,340,701 shares, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders who have voted against the resolution, holding 22,973,993 units, representing 0.13%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Abubakar Mahmood is duly elected. For the 6th director, I hereby move that Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okaru is and is hereby elected a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Thank you. We will now vote on the resolution.
Voting has started, please. Keypads pressed. 5 seconds more. 3, 2, 1. We can close the vote. Thank you. We await the display of the results. Thank you. The result is hereby displayed on the third resolution for Mrs. Ifueko. We have 209 shareholders voting in favor, holding 17,815,905,101 shares, representing 99.78%. And we have 7 shareholders who have voted against, holding 39,409,593 shares, representing 0.22%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that Mrs. Ifueko Omoigui Okaru is duly elected. The 7th director, I hereby move that Mr. Modupe Kadri be and is hereby elected a director of the company. Would someone please rise and second the motion?
I so second the motion, sir.
We will now vote on the resolution.
We can start the vote, please. The vote is open. Okay. 5 seconds more. 2-1. We can close the vote, please. Thank you. We are waiting. The result is being displayed. So we have results on the third resolution for Mr. Modupe Kadri. We have 210 shareholders holding 17,832,340,701 shares, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders who have voted against, holding 22,973,993 shares, representing 0.13%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Modupe Kadri is duly elected. Distinguished shareholders, 3 directors are retiring at this meeting in accordance with the Articles of Association, and being eligible, they have offered themselves for re-election. 1, Mr. Paul Norman. 2, Mr. Ferdinand Mulman. And 3, Mr. Carl Toriola. The first director being presented for the election is Mr. Paul Norman. And I hereby move that Mr. Paul Norman be and is hereby re-elected a director of the company. Would someone kindly second the motion?
I, Nona, I will so do.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
The voting has started, sir. Five seconds more. 3, 2, 1. Can we close the vote, please? Thank you. Waiting for the results. The result is hereby displayed. Still on the third resolution, item B, for Mr. Paul Norman, we have 210 shareholders who have voted in favor of the resolution with 17 billion shares, 832,340,701 shares, representing 99.87%. And then we have 6 shareholders who have voted against the resolution, holding 22,973,993 shares, representing 0.13%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that Mr. Paul Norman is duly re-elected. The second director, I hereby move that Mr. Ferdinand Mulman be and is hereby re-elected a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
I so do.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
Thank you. Voting has commenced. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You can close the vote, please. Thank you. Thank you. The result is being displayed, and we have 210 shareholders voting in favor, holding 17,832,340,701 shares, representing 99.87%. And we have 6 shareholders who have voted against this resolution, holding 22,973,993 units and representing 0.13%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Ferdinand Moolman is duly elected. And we have our CEO back. The third director, I hereby move that Mr. Carl Toriola be and is hereby re-elected a director of the company. Would someone please second the motion?
I, Walker Chap, second your nomination.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
The voting has commenced. Thank you, sir. Five seconds more. 3, 2, 1. We can stop the vote, please. Thank you. Thank you. The result is being displayed. We have, for the appointment of Mr. Kari Toriola, we have 209 shareholders voting in favor and holding 17,815,905,101 shares, representing 99.78%. And we have 7 shareholders who have voted against and holding 39,409,593 shares, representing 0.22%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that Mr. Carl Toriola is duly re-elected. We'll now go to the next item on the agenda, which is to appoint auditors. By Section 357, subsection 1 of CAMA, every company shall, at each annual general meeting, appoint an auditor or auditors to audit the financial statements of the company and to hold office from the conclusion of that meeting until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. I would therefore like to move that Messrs. Ernst & Young be and are hereby appointed auditors of the company. I'd like someone to please rise to second the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I so second.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Voting has commenced. We'll take 5 seconds more. 3, 2, 1. We can close the votes. Thank you. Thank you. The result is displayed. On the 4th resolution to appoint auditors, we have 215 shareholders voting in favor, holding 17,800,000 854,644,377 shares, representing 100%, and we have one shareholder who has voted against with 670,307 shares, representing 0.00%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hereby declare that Mrs. Ernst & Young are hereby appointed auditors of the company. Distinguished shareholders, the next item on the agenda is to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors, Messrs. S. & Young, LP. They have been appointed as auditors of the company to hold office until the conclusion of the next annual general meeting. CAMA requires that their remuneration be fixed by the company in general meeting, or in such manner as the company in general meeting may determine. I hereby move that the directors be and are hereby authorized to fix the remuneration of the auditors for the year ending 31st December 2020. Could someone please second the motion?
I so do, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We will now vote on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Voting has started. Five seconds. 3, 2, 1. We can stop. Thank you. Thank you. The result is displayed. On the fifth resolution to authorize the directors to fix remuneration of the auditors, you have 211 shareholders voting in favor and holding 17,845,091,254 shares, representing 99.94%. And we have 5 shareholders who have voted against this resolution, holding 10,223,440 shares, representing 0.6%. Thank you.
I hereby declare that the motion has been carried. Thank you very much. Distinguished shareholders, the next item on the agenda is to elect members of the Statutory Audit Committee. In accordance with Section 359, subsection 4 of CAMA, the Audit Committee shall consist of an equal number of directors and representatives of the shareholders, subject to a maximum of 6 members. Consequently, the Board of Directors has nominated the following directors as members of the Audit Committee. 1, Mr. Mohammed Ahmad. 2, Mr. Ridwan Gesant. And 3, Mrs. Ufueko Omogui Okauru. For the shareholders, 25 valid nominations were received by the company secretary. from various shareholders. 5 nominees have withdrawn their candidacy. The remaining shareholder nominees for election as members of the Audit Committee are 1, Mr. Hassan Tunde Odukale, Mr. O'Connell Ayegbeni Peters. They've actually been duly nominated by other shareholders. Mr. Erin Folami Oladele Balogun Gafar, Mr. Okafor Emmanuel, Mr. Nona Awo, Mr. Ajani Rashid Olalekan, Mr. Kolawole Yekini Alabi, Adeshola Selimat Niyola, Ajose Tunde Idris, Akisanya Adeolu, Jimo Adoni Rashidat, Kujenya Olaiwola Yusuf, Layembi Karimo Mokwe Lola, Layembi Kasim Adewale, Mot Olaiwola Tobun, Obideyi Efunyemi Olatunde, Odunuga Samiat Adebanke, Olagoke Samson Olusegun, Olarino Ismail, Jimo Kuku, and Oyenuga Adewale Afoloronsho. Those are the 20 names. I hope you took notes of the candidates you want to vote for, because this is by simple majority of votes of members present at this meeting. So I'll now call on the registrar to please lead us through the voting process.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be calling out the names one by one and then cast the votes. We'll count the number of shareholders who have raised their hands in favor of the candidate, and then I'll move to the next candidate. Thank you. Chair, please, can you come and count for me? Thank you. For Mr. Hassan Odukale Tunde, I want all shareholders voting in favor to raise their hands, please. I'll move on to Mr. Peters Ayegbeni. Shareholders voting for Mr. Peters Ayegbeni. Thank you. For Mr. Henry Folami Oladele Balogun Gafar, I'd like shareholders voting. None. Thank you. For Mr. Okafor Emmanuel, one. For Mr. Nona Awo, For Mr. Ajani Rashid Olalekan. Mr. Kolawole Yekini Alabi. Mrs. Adeshola Selimat Niyola. For Mr. Ajose Tunde Idris. Anybody voting in favor? For Mr. Akisoya Adeolu. For Mr. Jimo Aduni Rashida. For Mr. Olayuola Kujena Yusuf. Mr. Lion B. Karimo Mokweola. Mr. Lion B. Kazim Adewale. For M.O.T. Olayuola Tobon. For Obideyi Efunyemi Olatunde. For Mrs. Odunuga Semiat Adebanke. For Mr. Olagoke Samson Olusegun. For Mr. Olaniran Ismail Jimo Kuku. For Mr. Oyenuga Adewale Afolorunsho. Thank you, Chair. We've come to the end of the votes for the audit nominee, and then I'll call out the results. For Mr. Hassan Odukale Tunde, we recorded 5 votes. For Mr. Peters Ayegbeni, we recorded 6 votes. For Erin Folami, we recorded a nil vote. For Mr. Okafor Emmanuel, we recorded 1 vote. For Mr. Nona Awu, we recorded 7 votes. For Mr. Ajani Rashid Olalekan, we recorded a nil vote. For Mr. Kolawole Yekini Alabi, a nil vote. For Mrs. Adeshola Selimat Niyola, a nil vote. For Mr. Ajose Tunde Idris, we recorded a nil vote. For Mr. Akisoya Adeolu, nil vote. For Mr. Jimo Aduni Rashidat, a nil vote. For Mr. Kujena Olaiwola Yusuf, a nil vote. For Mr. Lion B. Karimo, a nil vote. Mrs. Lion B. Kazim Adewale, a nil vote. For M.O.T. Olaiwola Tobon, nil vote. Obideyi Efunyemi Olatunde, a nil vote. Odunuga Samiat Adebanke, a nil vote. Olagoke Samson Olusegun, a nil vote. Olaniran Ismail Jimo Kuku, a nil vote. And Mr. Oyenuga Adewale Afolonrusho, a nil vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Based on the votes announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that Mr. Hassan Udukale Tunde, Colonel Peters Ayegbeni, and Mr. Nona Awo are duly elected representatives of the shareholders in the Statutory Audit Committee of the company. I hereby declare that the following are members of the Statutory Audit Committee of the company. Mr. Mohammed Ahmad, Mr. Ridwan Gesan, Mrs. Ifueko Omogui Okaru, Mr. Hassan Odukale, Colonel Peters Ayegbeni, Mr. Nona Owo or Awo, are members of the Statutory Audit Committee of the company. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the business of this meeting. I'd like to thank you all specially for attending the meeting and for showing much interest in the affairs of our company. Once again, I'd like to express my thanks to all persons who were able to attend this meeting, notwithstanding the prevailing pandemic. And also my gratitude to the shareholders who were able to join the meeting virtually. For those of you here, I wish you a safe journey back to your respective destinations and pray that we all stay safe and in good health in these trying times. I now declare the meeting closed. May I ask Mr. Nona Awo to lead us in the closing prayer.
Let us pray. Almighty Father, we want to thank you for the gift of life. Hence, I've been able to attend this meeting today. Father, we commit our lives into your care. We also want to commit the lives of other shareholders who are not present here into your care. We also want to extend our appreciation for all that you have made possible today as our Creator. And Father, as we go to our various homes, we ask that you continue to stay with us. And for our shareholders who are also at home, Father, that you also allow your goodness and mercy to continue to abide with them. And as a company, Father, we ask that you grant us wisdom, understanding, and grace to be able to push the successes that we have seen of this company to a greater height. And Father, on an occasion like this, we also must commit all over the world, who are making frantic efforts in saving the lives of other persons. Father, as they do so, may you also preserve their own lives. This and many more we ask through Christ our Lord.
I think we are finished, colleagues.
I thought so.
Yeah. Well done, everybody.
Well done. Indeed, well done.
Very smoothly.
Well done.
Yeah, I have a very good weekend.
Great, great. Yes. Pleasantly surprised.